I wanted to follow up on some questions that Senator King had talked about on the Army end strength. And so, Mr. Carson, Mr. Wheeler, I'd like to just get some of your thoughts on how you think about these issues. You know, one of the things that we do here in the committee, both in public and in private meetings quite frequently, is talk to the generals, talk to the military commanders at all the different levels. And I think it's pretty clear within the Army. General Odierno has wrote a couple op-eds on this, you know, even as he was finishing up as the chief of the Army, that going to 450 now is too risky, given the strategic 450,000 active duty forces in the Army, given the strategic challenges that we face globally. So there's a lot of talk about, you know, how we got to the 450 number. Sometimes people blame it on sequester. Actually, I'm pretty sure if you look at some of the documentation that the White House and DOD were aiming for that number pre-sequestration. General Odierno and others frequently now are saying, look, that's too risky for the country. 490, maybe 500. I think it should be north of 500,000. But how do you work through that when the generals are coming to you and you're the civilians in charge of manpower? When the generals are coming to you saying, hey, you know what? It's a new game out there. Russia's resurgent. ISIS is growing. The North Koreans are looking very aggressive. We need to change course here. When you hear that, and it's pretty much out there, trust me, we're hearing it. I'm sure you guys are hearing it. From the military commanders, who, to be honest, probably have a better sense of this than the civilian leadership. How do you react to that? What do? Do you agree that, let me just ask more direct, do you agree that 450 is a right size for the Army, or do you agree with the generals that are saying that's too risky, we need to change course and go to a higher number?
Let me take that, if I may, Senator. Since I was the Undersecretary of the Army and the General Counsel of the Army before that, I have been through many of the debates about the proper force structure for the U.S. Army. I believe what General Odierno has consistently said was that the 450 number posed risk, or perhaps significant risk, to execution of the Defense Strategic Guidance. When any commander comes to a civilian leader and says that they believe that the force structure isn't adequate to meet the mission, it is incumbent upon us not only to listen, because that is best military advice, but to do something about that. The 450 number, I do believe we would all like to see a larger Army.
So how do we get there? I agree with you on that.
More money. Every 10,000 people is about $1 billion to the Army budget. And so the question is, they need more money. If
but did you request that in the president's budget, to go to an Army of higher than 450? If you did, I didn't see it. I'd be pleased if you did. So correct me if I'm wrong.
No, the ramp down in the Army has been slow, and so they still are at above 450, even though that's the trajectory they're on. They have all said that that meets Defense Strategic Guidance, although risk is present on the horizon.
So if you're confirmed, will you commit to a number that's higher than 450 in your capacity as a senior civilian leader?
That will be an Army determination, not mine as the Undersecretary of Defense.
What if the Army came back and said 490? Would you,
I would say,
if confirmed, would you agree with that?
I would say the Army could use 490,000 people, but the Defense Department would need $30 to $50 billion more a year in top line to pay for that.
So where are you on that issue? 450 or 490? In your strategic judgment, what's best for the United States of America?
I listen to the military leaders who will tell you that 450 can meet the Defense Strategic Guidance.
Well, they're not saying that now.
The chairman, I believe, would testify to that fact. I believe the other military commanders, I believe General Milley would tell you that while there is risk.
Just yesterday, General Milley said that one of the brigade combat teams that was slated to be cut, the 425 Airborne Brigade Combat Team, the only one in the Asia Pacific, he said, quote, I think it would be contrary to the strategic national interest to go ahead and pull the 425 at this time. My thoughts is that we should extend that. Do you agree with that assessment? I know that's just hot off the presses.
Sure, that makes sense to me, sir.
Will you commit to supporting General Milley if he recalibrates on what the Army needs in terms of force posture, not only with regard to the 425, but overall levels of the Army, that in his best military judgment is needed to keep our country safe?
Yes, absolutely.
Would you?
Yes, Senator.
Let me ask this one final question, Mr. Carson. You know, you were talking to questions with Senator Ernst about progressive military policies. I'm not 100% sure what that means, but sometimes I worry that we lose sight of what the main purpose of the military is. So, do you have a sense of what the mission of the Marine Corps Infantry is? It's pretty succinct.
Sure, littoral combat, to dominate the littoral battlefield.
Close with and destroy the enemies of our nation.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you think that's still the #1 mission, no matter what? We got all these other things that we're talking about. Do you believe that that's the #1 mission that we should imprint in every member of DOD to remember and remind them that the #1 mission of our military members is to close with, destroy, and kill the enemies of our nation? Do you agree with that?
Yes, clearly.
Good. Okay.